Hello and welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Nina Adio, a social media marketing expert specific to the wedding industry. On this show, I discuss tips to help you DIY your social media, as well as getting the confidence and income to outsource it. Thank you for allowing this episode to come through on your Bluetooth, your car radio, wherever it may be you're listening from today. Now, let's take your wedding business to the next level. Hello, guys, and welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. It is Nina here, and I am really excited sitting to record this intro because, well, not just because my cat is next to me and oh, is Buster looking so cute, but because we are at episode 100, and that is pretty dang cool. So I want to thank everybody who has been a listener of this show, whether you are new or you've been listening since the very beginning. As we are at episode 100, I'm going to ask that if you've gotten any value from this show, please consider giving it a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or just sending me a message on your favorite platform. It can be through my website, through Instagram, through Facebook, and just say hello. Let me know what type of wedding professional or maybe service provider you are, and let me know what type of content you would like to hear in the future. It really helps me out. I remember once I got a message from someone who said, "You mentioned photo booths," and that made me feel so good as somebody who's listening with a photo booth company. And so that's why when I'm giving examples, then I think in my mind, okay, I know someone's listening who has a photo booth company. How can I cater to them? So please, if you are a listener of this show, let me know what it is you would like to hear. Also, after 100 episodes in, if you found that you have liked the content, then maybe it's time we think about working together. Of course, my signature service is the full service ongoing social media management, but I also offer Instagram audits, strategy calls, and I have my first ever video course, ChatGPT for wedding marketing. If you are somebody who is doing their social media content calendar on your own, then I really encourage you to check out that course. I have it at a no brainer introductory price right now, and it's going to be linked in the show notes of this episode. Now, I mentioned wanting to know what type of wedding professional or service provider you are. And what I think is really exciting about the wedding industry is that we are always evolving. There are always new vendors, new products, new features to weddings coming about. I mean, for me, the flower walls, I think, is something so new and fun that I have seen now become a pretty common practice for weddings and events. Guys, we are 100 episodes in. Why am I trying to work around the traffic and the ambulances now? By the background and my accent, you know, you know where I'm from. So it's noisy. Okay. But one of the newest vendors that has been coming out is a wedding content creator. This is not someone like me who creates content for wedding professionals. This is somebody who shadows a couple on their wedding day and creates content of their wedding. So that can be uh, really viral type of looking content, trending reels content, or even just candids, behind the scenes moments, and so forth. But this is something that I am seeing brides ask for more and more and more. And of course, I mean grooms too. People are asking for this. They like having vertical footage right now of their event. So I hopped on my Instagram live to record this podcast episode to talk about what this service is, advice for people who are wedding content creators, and advice for wedding vendors who don't offer this, but maybe it is infringing on what they do offer, right? Maybe somebody's saying instead of thousands for a wedding videographer, I'll just pay $500 for this content creator. How can we compete with that? So that's what we're going to discuss in this episode. So be sure to follow me on Instagram, because you might get to catch me doing one of these podcast episodes live, and then the upside of that is you get to ask your questions. So let's get to the episode. Hello, guys, and welcome here on Instagram Live, or welcome if you're listening to this on the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. My name is Nina Adio, and today what I want to talk about with everybody is wedding content creators. You might have noticed vendors coming out who are talking about that they create wedding content. They're wedding content creators for brides and grooms. Okay, so they are not what I do. They do not do content and social media for wedding vendors. This is a new vendor for couples where they create content for the couple. So I wanted to talk about that today because it's been a while since there's been a new vendor in town. So, who are wedding content creators? As I mentioned, it is not to be confused with somebody who does social media management or content creation for wedding vendors. These are content creators for weddings. And what people will do is they will hire this content creator to come to their wedding and shadow them with a phone taking vertical footage. Now, I don't know if all wedding content creators then turn that footage into viral style reels, to trending TikToks, etc., or if that is on the couple to do. So that's going to vary case by case. I think if you're paying for a service, that should be part of it, right? Because otherwise it's just showing up with your phone. Yes, ridiculous. Great. So we're on the same page. Because, what I want to also talk about is, could this be something? Well, and I understand the initial thought is going to be, I don't even want to get involved in this. But part of me wonders, is it worth just hiring someone $50 and adding it onto your package and they come around with their phone? I don't know, but that's something, we can discuss and see, man, is this worth it? Will I sell my videography package, which is professional, timeless footage, right? And maybe I add on having an assistant come who's just taking vertical footage that they get immediately. And is that gonna make the change? So that's something that I've been thinking about and wondering if it's worth it for vendors to start looking into that and considering that. Because what are they offering that a videographer doesn't? And if these are the people who, and this, I don't say this as a negative, it's reality. There are people who like influencer style content and who like trending content, and they dream of having their wedding reel or TikTok reposted on, we see them all, right? One person on The Knot. You know what's been trending on The Knot, or not on The Knot, but wedding blog sites have all been reposting a mashed potato bar. And it's like, where have you been? In Long Island, we have been serving mashed potatoes in cocktails glasses for the past 20 years. And now this is trending on social media. But there are people who really want that for themselves and want that viral type of content. And that's what a wedding content creator is offering. Personally, if I were to be giving a couple advice, I would just spread the word to bridesmaids, ask them to take footage to groomsmen, to friends, to look, everybody has, when I'm at a wedding, I'm that person taking all the footage and then sending it to them, because it's just what I like to do. So that is something you could look into doing too. But I understand there's some people who just want to hire somebody to do it out, and that's what a wedding content creator is. Now, if you are a wedding content creator or are looking to become one, you really need to familiarize yourself with
the industry standards and wedding contracts, because this is a very large industry at very high ticket prices, and you cannot fool around. I recently saw somebody posting in a group that she had hired a wedding content creator about maybe a year ago. And because this is such a changing and trending and new field, things have changed, and the person she hired isn't going to be the person coming out. And it's just like any other vendor. When you don't abide by these things, or what you initially express to the bride or groom or whoever has contracted you for their service, there's gonna be talk in bridal groups and negative reviews and things like that. So you really just want to be sure of what you're getting into. This isn't, once there's money involved, it isn't as simple as showing up to somebody's wedding and taking footage. This now becomes something that is a serious hired job. And I just want people who get involved to it know that this could be so gratifying and so fun, right? Getting to take wedding content, what a dream. But just make sure you go into it knowing what's involved, knowing what's at stake, knowing that this is the most important day of someone's life. So you have to set expectations. If you're not going to be editing the reels for them, make sure they know that. If you're not going to be taking reels during cocktail hour, during certain points, make sure you express that. You have to let the couples know how much footage to expect, what you're going to be doing with that footage. Are you delivering it raw? How is the audio attaching to the footage? So there's a lot to consider, and go into it as a professional standpoint. Get familiar with wedding vendors and vendor contracts, because this, once you're getting hired as a vendor and you're on that vendor list, you're held to the same standard as everybody else. So I'm curious if any other people have thoughts about this new vendor in town, the wedding content creator, if people have worked on a wedding that had a content creator there and what that experience was like. Look, from a social media standpoint, a wedding content creator promoting yourself on social media is going to be easy because you have all the content. So you wouldn't need someone like me because you've got it all there. So it is a new emerging thing, and I can't wait to hear what the experiences have been for vendors who have worked on weddings with content creators, and what the deliverables have been for couples on a lot of the wedding groups. I've seen people talk about enjoying getting that. Yes, another thing to add to a jam-packed day of timeline. Yes, that's something I really wonder, because I'm imagining a wedding content creator is behind the scenes, but if they're coming in to dictate time to do transitions or this or that, that interrupts the photographer flow, that interrupts the videographer flow, the wedding planner. So as a wedding planner, that's a whole new task of items to take on and to work into your timeline. So that is part of the expectation process. And that was from Darlinghurst Events. Thank you for that comment. That's something when I was talking about, if you are a wedding content creator, when you're setting the expectation, let the hosts know what is expected in terms of the timeline. I'm going to need 15 minutes with your bridesmaids. I'm going to need X amount of time. Or if I'm just going to be watching and I'm just going to be taking footage, and we're going to use the existing footage to make this work. And that's something that existing vendors, especially wedding planners, can guide their couples on and say, look, if this is something you really want to do, here's how I recommend doing it. Have them capture the real moments and not creating, additional moments on top of an already busy schedule. So that's something to think about. Heather says, I can see how it would be a nice trendy thing to add. Yes, I could see it added within another package, but pretty much wedding photographers and videographers are so expert in their niche and what they're doing that I think, like Darlinghurst Events, the idea of the content creation becomes something extra. And that's why I was wondering, is it worth, just like in the summer when a niece or nephew's in town, being like, look, you're coming for the vertical footage. But then that brings on the deliverables, right? Are you going to be editing these reels, or is the couple just getting them? So I suppose my thought process on it would be, if vertical footage is something you take at every wedding anyway, it's something you can mention, but I don't know if getting involved in it would be worth it. So that's why I'm really appreciating people's feedback on it and what it's like when a new vendor like this does come in to the forefront. So if you guys have any questions or comments about wedding content creation, I'm really curious to hear it. Heather says, I would want a more organic feel instead of forced moments. Yes, I love kind of when you see those retro wedding videos before they could get sound, and you would have just the candid moments captured. Something like that is really great. And then of course we have to wonder, is that something you necessarily need to hire out for? Or maybe you just have it at the beginning of the day, because once your guests are there, your guests are getting content. So that's something to consider too. I think it's a very specific audience, because this is obviously going to be somebody who loves social media, who loves posting and sharing their memories on social media and so forth. So the type of audience who would want a wedding content creator will be easy to find, because they're going to be on social media. And that's why this can be a very fruitful thing for the people who are tapping into this new scope of the wedding industry. This Instagram Live will be going on over the I Do Wedding Marketing podcast, if you're not subscribed to that. And that's where we're talking about wedding content creators today. If this is your first time listening, I put out episodes every Wednesday. And right now I have launched the ChatGPT for Wedding Marketing course, and it has been such a delight getting to know how you can make ChatGPT work for you and your business. I know that ChatGPT gives many people the same feelings we're getting when we're talking about wedding content creators, right? You kind of go, ugh. Ew, I don't want to use that. But trust me, this course was created for the busy wedding brand that is not able to outsource their social media yet. You're doing it yourself. ChatGPT can really get your wheels turning if you know how to use it right, about what your couple needs to hear and how to market to them, and how to get the responses from ChatGPT to be in your own tone of voice and to make it work for you. So that's why I created the course, not to diminish when you are able to invest and outsource in copywriters and social media managers like myself, but rather to help people who are not able to get to that point to outsource yet, to have a resource where they can use ChatGPT and leverage it to get to that point. So I will say that as somebody who is creating content for vendors and venues, if brides and grooms do hire a wedding content creator and they tag everybody in it, it's a great thing. It's content for everybody. So if that wedding content creator is doing a great job, in the end, hopefully it will be great for everybody on board, except maybe the videographer. I think that's where it hurts most. But if you are a videographer, I would consider posting reels on Instagram or posting TikToks. And I'm not saying they need to be trendy or using trending audios or transitions or anything like that. What it will do is, even if you're just posting the teaser trailer, it will show to couples that this concept of having content that exists on Instagram that's shareable, on TikTok, that their peers can see, that they can get it from you. If you're at a place where you feel you can make some more kind of trending viral stuff, go for it. But at the very least, start posting some clips, posting some teaser trailers, and letting your couples know that if having it on Instagram and having it shareable on there is something that you can do, then they may consider that they don't need to do a content creator in addition, or even worse, instead of a videographer. So that is going to recap our discussion on the new vendor in town, wedding content creators. So if you're watching this on the replay or listening to it over at the I Do Wedding Marketing podcast, you can comment or send me a message here on Instagram letting me know your thoughts or your questions about it. I could be popping up at any time, guys, doing these lives. I really enjoyed doing the podcast live on Instagram and then uploading the audio there so it can go out for everyone who's listening on the podcast instead. So thank you to those who watched and engaged. I appreciate it so much. And now it's time to get ready for SummerSlam weekend. Thanks for being here, everybody.